SwayamPrabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello students, we will continue with our study of point blocks and high rises. This is part 2 of the presentation, and if you remember my lecture which I had taken in the first part of it, when I talked to you about the coming in or the rise of high rise construction and skyscrapers in India, particularly after the post liberalization era. There were high rises in the pre-liberalization era. I talked to you about it yesterday, that even buildings as tall as 7 to 10 stories were considered as high rises, and we had looked at the reason why there is such an exponential, or rather a very major rise in high rise buildings across the country, and the reasons I told you are very similar to what happened in Chicago school, that because of the increase in the urban population and because of rising economy, particularly let us take the case of Mumbai, which is the financial center of India, the financial capital of India. The demand of land was more and more, land became scarce and more costly, and the only solution was to go vertical. A very similar thing had persisted during the time of the Chicago school movement around the 1880s in America. In Chicago, and so they also had to go vertical. It was a practical solution in solving the problem of this rising population and constantly growing economy. And so also in India, post liberalization, there has been a shooting up of these high rises all across the country. It has not been concentrated only in the megapolises, so to speak, of Delhi and Mumbai, etc., but also in Bangalore, Pune, Lucknow, Ahmedabad, all over the country. Gandhinagar, I'll show you one example today, where they are taking deep root, and of course this whole rush is being led by Mumbai, which has the one of the highest number of high-rise buildings in the world, and probably the highest number of high rises under construction, and so many of them are now skyscrapers, and predominantly these skyscrapers have the high rise building construction in India earlier used to be focused on institutional buildings or even corporate buildings, but more and more the focus has shifted to residential buildings and mixed use buildings. Now this slide actually shows you what I talked to you in the last session, when I told you about the rise of point blocks in India with the advent of the modernist movement, or the idea that modernist movement brought in India, and this led to the development of slab blocks and point blocks, very similar to what was already happening in the West. But whereas they were working in glass and steel, we were working in RCC and glass, and we've also had provision of louvers. We took the example of Indian Express building and compared it with the liver house, where it was just plain glass in the liver house. In Indian Express building, Stein provided these balconies which worked as sunshades to cut off the direct sun and rain falling on the glass facade, whereas the glass facade provided these ample views towards the Arabian Sea and the harbour in the city on the other side. So again, climate has played a major role in redefining the tall building or skyscraper construction in India. We have not had those slick tech skyscrapers that I talked to you about yesterday, and I had compared to you the example of John Burgee of Philip Johnson, John Burgee Associates, who had designed the Air India building. And in the 1980s, I showed you some example of that slick tech, sleek glass architecture of the same firm in America, which was so different from the Air India building, because in that building, though a slab block, Air India building had those small fenestrations so that we could accommodate for the hot and humid climate of Mumbai. We'd also taken this classic set of buildings along the Marine Drive, and in this picture also you can see all four of them: the Air India building, the Indian Express building behind it, the Hotel Trident building, and that which is not visible, which is towards the right side, is the NCPA apartment block. And we had also talked about it yesterday that for example, these three, and in this picture it's even clearer that these three buildings have this three-storied podium over which the slab block is rising, and all three have this terrace garden, as you can see here in the Air India building, in the Indian Express building, and this is the Trident Hotel. And the picture I showed you yesterday was the shot that had been taken from the pool side, from somewhere here, looking towards the podiums of Air India and the Indian Express building. Then we'd also seen a series of buildings like the Stock Exchange building, the Vidhan Sabha building in Mumbai, etc., which also had a similar concept of a multi-leveled podium block over which the slab block is rising. And I had told you that this idea had also originated in America, and I believe the first building having that idea in the modern times was the Liver House, which had that podium over which the slab block rose. Only thing was, in their case, the podium also had a courtyard in between, and that was one of the differences. But that idea then came up in many buildings in Mumbai. Now coming to today's presentation, we are now seeing in the 21st century, as I had also shown you some of the examples yesterday, of the rise of the tower blocks, skyscrapers. Any building greater than equal to 150 meters, as I mentioned yesterday, is considered a skyscraper. When the definition actually came up during the Chicago school, it simply meant a building that is scraping the sky, so the term skyscrapers. And in those days, even a 8 or 10-story building was considered as scraping the sky or a skyscraper, but that definition is far gone. Now it's greater than equal to 150 meters, and in many cases we are looking at super tall buildings which are greater than 300 meters. Now these are the examples. Let's come to the focus of the skyscrapers or the tall buildings in India, which is residential construction or apartments. This is the Imperial Towers, work by Hafiz contractor around 2010. I had shown you this example yesterday. Now going a little deeper, we are looking at the plan of these apartments, and they are very lavish. Much of the residential development that is taking place in these skyscrapers or these really tall buildings is luxurious and serving to the higher or the highest income bracket in our country, predominantly because of the economics of construction. These buildings are very expensive to build, and they are provided with lavish facilities. Yesterday I told you that when these buildings come up, there is we've seen the advantages. There is the advantage of sustainability, because we are having a very small physical footprint, and therefore we can save on agricultural land cover or even provide large green cover. Moreover, all our facilities are economized within a tall building like that. The added advantage is that the amenities or the community spaces or recreational spaces can all be housed close to each other and can be given access to a large number of people, because they are all housed vertically. Of course, as I mentioned yesterday, there are many other problems associated with tall buildings. Let me give you one example. If such a large number of people are staying in one tall building, this is running into probably a couple of thousand people also or more, the amount of parking spaces required to be provided, the kind of facilities to be provided, the systems to be provided reach a humongously large, they take a humongously large form, and there is this requires a huge amount of engineering technology that goes into it. I also told you yesterday that India now has the capability not only to make skyscrapers but even super tall skyscrapers, and we are reaching to a point where we will have in-house capability totally to make them. And also mentioned that many of the experts required to work on these skyscrapers, MEP consultants and HVAC consultants who are internationally known and they are working globally, have set up shop in India, and that is to our advantage. Of course, I had also mentioned that the contractors have to up their game, because these buildings require a very high level of finish quality, very high level of precision work, and therefore that is an area where we really have to build up our game in the construction work, and it's already happening. There have been teething problems. I will consider an example in front of you, which is an actual building that has been built and there have been problems, but teething troubles are bound to happen when something happening for the past nearly 100 years across the world has only really picked up momentum in the last 20 to 25 years. So here we have Hafiz Contractors Imperial Towers. You can see it's a lavish building, and generally the apartments designed cannot be like a bungalow design or a detached house design, where you can have even ample open and semi-open spaces. You can have a large amount of flexibility. The plan, though functional and though meeting the needs of a very high income bracket family, have to be somewhat compact. And you can see here, as you enter in, there is a small bar space here, and then you have and this will continue, that as you walk in, there is a free flowing space accommodating the living room and the dining area, and that is connected to an open kitchen. Now this kind of format is already there in our houses, and the same format is being repeated in flats and apartments across the country, even across the globe, because this gives a feeling of openness in a somewhat compact space. This one large space subdivided into separate spaces creates that feeling of openness and a feeling of a large space, and so this is pretty common. And then there are these bedrooms towards the right and the left. The master bedrooms, for example, in this case we have large units provided. Now the apartments can range from anything from 2 BHK to 5 BHK. This particular apartment is a 5 BHK apartment, and for example, if you walk in, this is a 4 BHK apartment that you see here, and so you walk in and you have your again the kitchen space and the living dining area is housed as one free flowing space along with an attached balcony. Now this is an Indian edition. These balconies normally are not there in the Western world, and but we are providing balconies now. Wind would be an issue at high levels, but I believe that that's been taken care of. And then you have bedroom number 1, bedroom number 2, bedroom number 3 and bedroom number 4, and as you can see that providing these apartments, there are multiple problems which simply we do not have the time to cover. Services is a big problem. Provision of washroom facilities and the ventilation provisions for them, something that you study at a very rudimentary level, for example at your undergraduate program, becomes a very, very complicated process as we go in for skyscrapers. So this is the further plans of the Imperial Towers, and you can see this is a duplex apartment. This is the 5 BHK duplex, and there are the other plans. Then there is another part of the Imperial Towers. This is the existing Imperial Towers by Hafiz Contractor, a much taller Imperial 3 designed by Adrian Smith and Gordon Gill, commonly known as AS plus GG. Their firm is coming up with these Imperial 3, this next to the Imperial Towers, and the SD Corporation, which is behind this, is wanting to go in for this third building. This is an ongoing construction, and their whole experience, expertise and reputation is behind this project, and this is of two real estate developers coming together, Shapurji Palanji and Dilip Thakur Group. Then there is the Raheja Group, which is also playing a very key role as one of the key players in developing these high-rise apartment blocks. So we have the Raheja Viveria in Mumbai, which is the lead registered residential project. It's already completed. It's one of Mumbai's green structures, and as you can see the plan, it's a fairly elaborately lavish plan. As you enter in, there is again this common space that you see here, the kitchen along with the living and the dining area, and then you have another common space, a study on the side, and there are balconies on different sides. There is a lengthy balcony up front. This is the view of this balcony looking towards the sea, and then you have adjoining bedrooms, bedroom number 1, bedroom number 2, bedroom number 3, bedroom number 4, and even the kitchen has got a central island. So this is a fairly lavish apartments, even among lavish apartments vis-a-vis the amount of space provided. Then we have the Lodha Group, which is also another key player, the Lodha Primero in Mahalakshmi in Mumbai, and this apartments in a tower block, like I said, nearly in all of them we find there are balconies. Another idea that is found in many of these apartment blocks is they have a podium, as you can see in the Lodha Primero, and on top of the podium is a sky garden or a roof garden with swimming pools and recreation facilities, as this picture shows. So when we move forward, we see here this is the site plan, and this is how the apartments are laid out. So there are 4 apartments to this floor. There are these 2 BHK apartments on this side, and there are 3 BHK apartments on the other side. And then there are, so this is a series of floors, and then the 49th and 51st floor, the design was supposed to have one of the apartments was removed, and that was replaced by this sky garden. So that was what it was supposed to be, but please look up this data to be more clear about it, that was this finally executed. So here we have the balconies, as you can see, and the balconies are also staggered. As you can see that there are the long balconies, and there is a staggering done all across the facade of the building. Then there is the Lodha Fiorenza. Now the initial studies, the pictures, examples that I am showing you are of more regularly organized floor plans, right. So this one is also already up and running, and this is the view, the very large the free flowing space within the apartment, and this is the podium level recreational space, or the podium level garden, and you can see the view of the podium level space also from the top, and there we have it. This is now what I have done is I have organized the plan with the north point in the same direction. So the site plan and the view, this pool indicative here, the pool the way it's shown is how it's been shown here, and then this plan, the floor plans are rising above it, and these are the way the apartments have been laid out. Then there is the Lodha Bellissimo A, B and C, which is 21 meters high in Mumbai and 53 floors residential apartment block, exclusive project with world class facilities including conference rooms and concierge services and excellent landscaping. Now please understand that even in this very high bracket living style, there are a series of brackets within them. So it can range from a few crores to tens of crores. It can grow from a lower end of the high level market to the upper end even of the high level, high bracket market. And these are the floor plans of this project. Then there is the Ahuja group. This is the Ahuja Towers in Mumbai. Again you see that in the design that they have come up with, this is the final building. This again has this podium arrangement, these series of floors adjoining the tower block, and this is the roof garden that is provided with the pool. And these are the plans. Now these are very standard plans. Of course, I told you yesterday also, one of the things that was happening in the high rises earlier was the essential focus was on the structural system. But now we have far more creative and architectural freedom, and one of the ways in which we are able to do that is because we have amazing structural abilities today, and that leads to us playing with the form of the building and thus are able to create spaces of a different type, not standard squarish or rectangular floor plans of apartments, but they are different. For example, here we are able to get this kind of a curve, and then there are these two apartments on either side of the elevator section. And in fact, because I was talking about the higher end of the higher market, as you can see there are these elevators which are part of the apartment. These are private elevators leading into the apartment itself. Then the Sky City, which is coming up at Borivali in Mumbai, 210 meters, 67 floors high. And now I am coming to the kind of apartments in which wings come out from the central space. So there are these three apartments which are moving outwards from the central space, and this is the layout. As you walk in, the kitchen is right at the opening, and then again this forms the free flowing area, and then you have bedroom number 1, 2 and 3. So this is how this has been done. Oberoi Skies in Mumbai, GIFT Diamond Tower in Gandhinagar, and this I believe is a corporate building. It's a 410 meter building that's proposed 86 floors high. Then there is the Lokhandwala Minerva in Mumbai, which is under construction. It's supposed to be 303 meters high, 82 floors, developed by the Lokhandwala Infrastructure Group. Again, it has got these lavish 3 to 5 BHK apartments, even 4.5 BHK luxury and 6 BHK duplexes. And this is the construction that is going on, right? This is, I believe, close to Lodha Bellissimo. This is Lodha Bellissimo at the back, and this is the way the final building is supposed to be. Again, if you can see, this has got this podium level design over which the terrace garden is supposed to be. And here again, as you walk in, there are these 3 apartments on this side and 1 large apartment on this side, and it's got this balcony completely all around the apartment, and these are full length balconies provided to each of the apartments. Then there is the Mantri Pinnacle. Remember that I had shown you this in the previous presentation when I was trying to indicate to you that high rise or tower block construction is not just confined to Mumbai. Even I had given the example of the 42 building in Kolkata, and I had talked about the Mantri Pinnacle in Bangalore, which is a residential building 153 meters high. I told you it's just touching the bar of our skyscraper with 46 floors, and it is the tallest building in South India with 3, 4 to 5 bedroom apartments and penthouses, and having luxurious amenities as in all the projects we've seen mentioned today. So this is the overall landscape plan, and as you can see again, I mentioned that this series of projects that I'm showing you have this winged kind of arrangement. So there are these 2 apartments here and then 2 on this side. So they are opening outwards from the central area. This is the service area with the elevators and the staircase. Again, you can keep on seeing the same repetitive model of the kitchen, the living and the dining space being one common space or free flowing space. If you move in here you have it, this space, and so that is a repetitive model that we keep seeing. Now this is one thing that you will find, that the structure, conceptual structure of the floor plan of residences in the 20th century walking into the 21st century has hardly seen any major upgrade from what came in with the advent of modern architecture, and particularly the idea of free flowing spaces of Frank Lloyd Wright. So when he came up with the concept of these free flowing spaces of living room and dining space as one common one free flowing space, and then it graduated to the younger generation of European architects like Corbusier and Mies, etc. This idea has continued. Upgrades have happened. It's like saying that a particular technology essentially conceptually is still the same, only upgrades are happening, incremental upgrades are happening. So if I look at these apartments, I don't find anything radically new. All the projects I have shown you is just a play of overall arrangement. Conceptually it is pretty much the same. Oasis Tower 1 has already, it's coming up in Mumbai, most of it has been completed, and this is again, like I showed you, that this is a common space and then there are wings radiating outwards. This is the arrangement, and it's got this curved plate on the outside, this curved wall that you see here. If you look at it very carefully in the finished view of the building, and then we come up to skyscrapers that are circular or elliptical or rounded, and here is the Supertech Supernova which is coming up in Noida. This, as you can see, here is a long, this apartment as you enter in has got these bedrooms in this manner. So you have the living room and the kitchen and dining space here. You walk in, I'm sorry, the kitchen is probably, yeah, this is a bigger kitchen which is connected to this area, and then you have 1, 2 bedrooms, there is another lounge space here, and then there is a third bedroom. So this is the overall elliptical shape of the building, and this apartment that we are seeing is this particular edge apartment on this side, and it's got this long balcony which is in front of all the rooms, and the amazing thing is that all the rooms have got the view towards the outside. So this is a very novel idea, that all the views are provided from all the rooms looking as a vast expanse like this, which is a very good idea, and technology is enabling us to do that, providing us this expansive view like this because of the structural abilities that we have today. Supertech North High is also coming up in Noida, and in this Supertech North High there is the upcoming concept of studio apartments. Studio apartments are those that are having living space or a lounge with a kitchenette and 1 bedroom and attached bathroom. It is predominantly focused on bachelors, or even for people who travel internationally, or people who travel frequently and they are in a particular city very often, maybe for larger periods of time, and they want some kind of personalized service away from a hotel. So they end up purchasing these studio apartments which are more like lavish suites, and they have concierge services within the building that take care of all the needs of the client, and whether it is laundry, whether it is food, it works, it provides you facilities exactly like a top class 5-star hotel, but this is your own personal space. And there is also the idea of shared a rental arrangement, where when the person is not using the studio apartment, he can rent it out, and thus he can get some kind of a return on his investment. But so here we have the studio apartment. As you walk down this corridor, you have 1 studio apartment, 2 and 3. If you look at this one, it's very simple. It's got the bedroom attached to the living area, and there's a kitchenette. So it's a very simple format. So also here, and so also here. But if you walk in, this one is a more elaborate one, because as you walk in, there is a servant's room, there is an open kitchen with a dining area and a living space, and then there is one big lavish bedroom that has been provided with a sitting space and an attached bathroom. But this is a standard apartment in the building. It's a 3-bedroom apartment, or rather a 4-bedroom apartment that has been provided. And as you can see now, here you can say that yes, some changes are being made because these are skyscrapers and the apartments are being modified because of the shape. Shape is playing a very important role aesthetically, and therefore as you walk in, this is an elongated, the free plan is elongated, and you have these the dining area and the kitchen, and then along this, these bedrooms, 4 bedrooms have been provided. So conceptually the idea remains the same, only arrangement wise changes are taking place because of the built form. Now let us come to probably the best known example of a skyscraper residential building in India, the World 1 Tower by the Lodha Group in Mumbai. Now this building was supposed to go up to 447 meters with 442 meters with 117 floors. So if you look at this image, you can see that this is supposed to be really tall, and at one time this was supposed to be the tallest residential building in the world. But actually the tallest residential building today exists in New York, in Manhattan, and now this building's height was also cut down. As you can see from the actual building, if you compare it to the picture, you can see that much of this part has been taken out. If you compare it to this block, you can see that the overall height has been decreased, and this is designed by Tycob Fried and Partners along with Leslie E. Robertson Associates. So this company, so that is also indicative of, like I mentioned to you, Adrian Smith and Gordon Mills. So there are many foreign architectural firms who have got tremendous experience in making these structurally complex skyscrapers coming into India and making these buildings. Now this has got a series of floor plans that are very interesting, because the building, for example, in this part it stops, one part stops here, so this has a roof garden with swimming pools and recreational facilities, and the other continues upwards. So the building continues like this, and then this part gets cut off and the building continues to rise with these apartments, and then the number of types of apartments within this whole set of buildings, the World 1 Tower, they are varied. One way of trying to understand these apartment plans is that just keep your eye focused on the service area. So if you keep your eye focused on the service area, the elevator area for example, you can then be able to decipher these complex plans. Now this plan, the one that you see here, is a fairly big plan. This is this is one single apartment, really lavish. It has got this entire living space here. It's got a very elaborate kitchen attached with the servant's room, and it is duplex. It's got a floor above it also, and it's got an exercise area, a gym, and very lavish arrangement. It's got its own private elevator also within it, and then there are the other apartment shapes, so to speak, of plans that come up because of the curvilinear form of the World 1 Tower. These are the other plans. Now the way to look at it is, this is the overall form, so this plan responds to this one, this to this one, and so on and so forth. These are the views, and you can see these amazing balconies, and they are repeated in all the apartments we've seen today. The extensive use of glass, because one of the things that is so important and for which people pay a premium price is the view. That at that height with the clean air, people want that amazing view as much as possible. So that is what architects try to capture, or builders try to capture. So here it is, you can see the views, that the animated views, and you can see the amazing view this project is providing to the occupant. Now if you want to see how the actual apartment looks, please go to YouTube. There are quite a few videos there of the World 1 Tower actual apartments, and you can have a look at the finished product. Then this slide actually shows that NCR, a region, Delhi and its satellite areas, is also trying to come up with the skyscrapers as also Mumbai, and many are proposed by the Supertech group. There is a Supertech Supernova, the Raja Revanta, etc., etc. Now these slides that I am showing you, couple of them, are trying to show you the various skyscraper forms that are being thought of amongst in upcoming skyscrapers in India, proposed. Whether they will be finally built or not, we cannot be sure about that, but these forms are proposed, these skyscrapers are proposed, and you can see they are amazingly radical and interesting forms, very like what is happening globally. So in this way, India is pretty much caught up, it's catching up, or it's nearly caught up with global trends, and we are seeing the Indian global citizen who travels frequently abroad and has a global lifestyle is being afforded the same kind of luxurious lifestyle and facilities as you would find in any other premium city of the world. And these are some of the other forms that are being proposed, this one. And then, like for example, the Indra Tower, which I have just explained a little bit more because this is even unique amongst the proposed forms of the future. It's supposed to be 300 meters high, 80 floors, by the Vadva group, and the design team behind it is James Law Cybertecture. You can look it up online regarding this firm. And the concept is that of a single drop of water which is freely dropping into the water, and the shape it takes up because of gravity and dynamic properties, and that is what is supposed to be. There are different depths of balconies that are provided along the facade of the Indra Tower, and the emphasis is on the views. So because of this shape, it is providing a vast view of the sea from each unit, and the structural design happens to be a combination of various structural systems. So this is what it's supposed to be. Then there is the Lanco Tower, the Lanco Signature Towers in Hyderabad. Now this is like 2067 feet. I'm sorry, I should have converted it into meters, divided by 3. It's a very tall building, close to I believe so close to 700 meters, 600 plus meters high. The Namaste Tower in Mumbai is close to 350 meters high, 1037 feet. I am dividing it simply by a round number of 3, and so 114 floors in Hyderabad and 62 floors in the amazingly iconic Namaste Tower in Mumbai. Okay, this slide actually shows an idea that was proposed and explored but never finally executed. The idea is very simple. You have a skyscraper block, and this was supposed to actually be for the slum dwellers of Dharavi, and what it was supposed to do was that each of the dwellers will be provided an apartment, a small scale apartment in this tower, and the apartments would be made out of shipping crates, the shipping units that are there, the cargo units that are there, those cuboidal units, they will make up these apartments, as you can see here, very colorful, and they would be plugged into the skyscraper, very similar to the idea of United Habitation, where Corbusier plugged in the apartments into the block. So this was supposed to be the frame in which these shipping containers would be plugged in, and thus we would have this this section shows these the shipping containers plugged in, and each of these shipping containers or the unit or multiple of these units would serve as the low income group apartments, but it was never finally executed. So thus we come to the idea of affordable housing in India. One of the ways in which high rises is impacting in the Indian building sector is with regard to affordable housing, because we know that we need approximately 2 million units per year to meet the growing demand for housing in urban areas, and the Prime Minister Awas Yojana PMAY is in high gear to try to meet this need. Corporations like the NBCC, the CPWD, etc., are working to in this area to provide this middle income, low income and EWS housing for the middle class and the lower middle class. And of course these are not high rises, the ones that we've seen. These are probably 8 to 10 storied high, but they are very needed today. This is the meat of the matter in India with regard to affordable housing. Now affordable housing in India is also running into a lot of issues, because this is not quite affordable as we would count it to be. A 30 lakh house is an MIG, 50 lakh house is an MIG, and EWS will be 5 lakh rupees. So that is not quite, we are not quite at home or comfortable with the idea of these dwellings being so expensive for the common man. Very difficult to be able to provide that kind of money, or what mechanism should we have is a totally separate topic. We are totally out of our number of lectures and modules this time. It's a very important topic that must be studied. I do hope that some of you will take the initiative to study the issue of affordable housing. This has continued to be a burning problem for India right from the time of India's independence. A lot of effort has been made, a lot of solutions have tried to be, we have tried to find. Architects like B.V. Doshi, we have studied examples with you of Aranya housing, and I studied the Belapur housing and other such attempts made by them at various levels to find a solution, but we are still nowhere in sight of a solution that will be workable for millions of units across the country. I will end here with this series on point blocks and high rises. I am quite aware of the fact that these presentations, the two that I have shown you, are just a summarized version of a very vast number of buildings being built in this sector, and there is a lot of interest that is being generated in this area. I do hope that you will take time out and go to your net, go to literature and read more about this topic. Thank you.